Hello there, this is Donna Reiners. I did it again. Good to see you. And I am happy to be here. And I have a couple things that I am working through right now. And I thought, you know what? It's just a good evening. It's a good evening to share. So the other day we were talking about HALT, H-A-L-T. Actually, Jennifer was talking about it. I wasn't talking about it. I thought, that's a good thing to talk about. And then it came again today, working through some things today. And, well, hello there. And, excuse me, all of a sudden, out of the woodwork. Anyhow, HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And we were talking about how we get hungry, and we get angry, and we get lonely, and we get tired, and how we can be led by our emotions. We are in that kind of situation. When you're in a kind of situation where you are hungry, it's very difficult for you to think straight. Maybe you get weak and it's hard for you to even know what you're doing. Maybe when you get angry, your emotions are so out of control that you make decisions out of that anger, and then you have no idea what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're doing. And I'm telling you, that's when people get hurt. That's when people get murdered, either with the tongue or physically, That's when people just do all sorts of shenanigans that are not cool. And then lonely, when someone is just so severely lonely and so in need of touch. I'm telling you, people get lonely and people need to be touched. And the problem is people aren't touched appropriately, or they're not touched at all. People that are shut-ins don't get any touch other than they get cleaned up by a caregiver. And when you get cleaned up by a caregiver, I remember someone that we cared for years ago, and that's the only time that person was touched. And it was just scrub-a-dub-dub. They were through and on the way. And so there was really no touch in that, no care, no love. And then tired. When you're tired, you don't necessarily make decisions that are wise when you're tired. Because again, you don't think clearly. You're not knowing exactly what it is you do feel because of being so exhausted. And so I love that acronym, HALT. HALT. I love that it's a double-edged sword. When you're hungry and you're angry and you're lonely and you're tired, it's not a good place to make decisions from. So you should halt and not make decisions, perhaps. So that being said, when you are around someone, or you're in communication with someone, or you are counseling someone, or you are loving someone who is hungry. For instance, people that are homeless get hungry. Listen, if you're in a place to live and you're good with your food and you've got no transportation issues, and if you've never been in a situation where you've had that kind of thing to deal with, it might be easy to not think kindly towards someone like that. But people that are homeless get hungry. And so when you see someone in that kind of situation, you need to ask yourself, what can you do to help them? How can you be God to them? Who are you supposed to be to them? And what are you supposed to do, if anything? Sometimes you're not supposed to do anything. This is not a guilt and obligation thing. And then angry. What do you do when you're around someone who's angry? Usually there's a reason for anger. Usually there is unforgiveness. Usually there might be abuse. It might not be abuse right that moment, but it could have been abuse years ago, and they're still traumatized by that abuse. They're still traumatized by those issues. They're still traumatized by how they were hurt, or how they were left, or how they were treated in some way, shape, or form. Lonely. And then and then tired. People do get tired. People get tired emotionally. People get tired physically. People get tired spiritually. When you're around someone who is tired, can you be kind? Maybe sometimes not say what you want to say because you know that they're just tired. Maybe they're so exhausted they don't know what to do with themselves. Or maybe they're just exhausted mentally and emotionally and they just need to regroup and rethink where they are and pick it up and keep going. But for your part, you can be some energy when they're tired. And for that person that is lonely, perhaps you can just be kind to them. HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These are all real things that all of us go through, all of us. But when you're in that situation, yourself or you're around someone who's in that situation, it's not the best scenario to make good, wise decisions. Listen, hunger can cause you to make decisions that you would never make. Anger can cause you to make decisions with your mouth and with your actions that you would never normally make. Loneliness, same thing. Listen, I have counseled people who were in spousal relationships who, after a long time, because of a lack of commitment on one or the other, whether it be emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, what have you, they start looking for grass on the other side. So loneliness can cause you to take actions in ways that are not healthy. And you can eventually be more than tired. You can be just stinking exhausted by everything, by life, or by being by someone else, by helping someone else in their life. And so what's the antidote? What are the answers? I think one of the answers is to make certain that your inside is being fed by the Lord. Make sure your insides are fed. Make sure you're coming from a healthy place. Because listen, when you're around people or you're dealing with people, or it may be just maybe you, but maybe you're around someone or helping someone or what have you that has these issues, do you know how easy it is to come into agreement with their hunger, with their anger, with their loneliness, with their fatigue, and then all of a sudden you're hungry. It may not be a physical hunger, but you're like, oh man, I don't feel good, or you start feeling lack, or you start to feel angry, and you start to make decisions yourself out of a place that's not even you anymore. You can be around somebody who's happy, and it can rub off on you, can't it? Joy, the joy thing. You be around somebody who's joyful, and you're like, hey, yeah. You can walk into an environment, it's just a good thing. You can walk in an environment, it's not a good thing. So that being said, you're either part of the process of causing the atmosphere to go in a positive direction, or you're part of the process of allowing the atmosphere to go in a different direction. And you can only control you. You can't control that person. You can't control the person you're trying to help. And you can only control you. And it's difficult. This is real life, guys. I know we have lots of spiritual lessons, and we can get spiritually equipped and spiritually encouraged and spiritually strengthened, but the rubber meets the road the next day when you're going to work and you're around people that want to eat your lunch or betray you or hurt you in some way or tell you you're not good enough or act like you're not good enough, or you think you're not good enough because of how they're treating you, right? And you know you're good enough, but inside it's like, what I did's not good enough? What the hey, right? But yet it's an unhealed place inside of you, not necessarily what they're saying to you, or it's an unhealed place inside of me, not necessarily how someone's treating me. If I am in need of validation, if I am in need of someone to tell me that I'm okay, and I'm not treated okay, or I put my best effort forth, my best effort, and I'm so proud of it and I'm excited about it, and yet it doesn't seem to go over well with the other person, I might think what I did wasn't good enough, and it might not be good enough. My best effort might be a B for somebody who wants an A, but it also might be my perception. My perception, I may not think what they're thinking is that I'm not good enough, when it may have nothing to do at all. They may just be in a bad mood. They may have a lot of things on their mind. They might do 1,000 things, or they might just have something happen inside of them, and they're just doing their thing and rocking on. So halt. Allow yourself to halt before you say something unkind. But remember, you can say something kind. You can say something kind to someone who is in a situation where they're hungry or angry or lonely or tired, and they are still going to think that you're not kind. You can say something with the best intention, but if someone else is in a place emotionally where they're either taken by somebody else's emotions or their emotions are just in a very unhealthy place, right? It can turn awry on you, and you may not even be the problem. So it's important to stop and just take a deep breath. Oh my gosh, let's just take a deep breath. Let's just remember, number one, that God is for us. And I don't understand everything that happens to folks. I don't understand everything that's happened to me. I remember years ago being in a situation where I didn't have anywhere to live and didn't know what to do with my life and didn't know what to do, didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. And it was a very uncomfortable place. And I felt very out of control and very irrational. And I had no idea what to even do or what to think, And I'm thankful that there were some kind people. There were some people that weren't kind too. I'm in a different place today, but I remember what those things felt like. So I just want to encourage you today, in this new day, to take a deep breath and just receive on the inside of you. Who is God on the inside of you right now? Who does God need to be for you right now? Who does God need to be for someone else right now? Through you, right? And who are you in the situation that you're in? What are you doing in the situation you're in? And how are you supposed to be? Years and years ago, I remember, listen, this was harsh at the time. I got to tell you, have you been through some harsh things? I remember years ago being in a really persnickety situation. And I remember this mentor saying to me, well, do you have gas in your car? Do you have someplace to live? He just totally just said, do you have shelter? Do you have water? Do you have food? You have gas? It's like, okay, you're good. And that was basically the end of that. I needed more emotionally. I felt like I needed a pat on the back. I needed someone to take me by the arm and just love me. I needed him to just take me and tell me, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to make it because Jesus never fails. I needed him to say that to me. But that wasn't his take. That's not who he thought he was supposed to be in that situation for me. He was who he needed to be in that situation for me, even though I wanted him emotionally to be someplace else for me, right? I needed some comfort. I needed some strength. I needed some, it's okay, girl, you're going to make it. I didn't get that. I think maybe now that's why I'm in that area of it's okay, you're going to be okay, even though I may not have the answer for you and I may not do what you want me to do or say what you want me to say. It's about understanding the intention of one another. What is this? Self-pity can come if we don't know the compassion of God. Wow, that's a word. One person said that self-pity can come if we don't know the compassion of God. So my question in response to that remark, it's an excellent insight, is I guarantee self-pity will come if we don't know the compassion of God on the inside of us. But sometimes we are the compassion of God for people, right? Like we are the compassion of God for people and we're their compassion. And sometimes, for instance, that person I just told you about that was asking me about shelter, asking me about gas, asking me about food, you know what? From where he was sitting, that was his compassion. He was giving me his compassion for him, and he was more like a father figure. He was more like the bottom line. Okay, I'm the father figure here. And he's like, that was his deal. But he wasn't taking on the responsibility for raising me, for growing me, he wasn't taking me on. And he had a boundary between us. But yet, I remember those words today. And do you know what? 25 years later, I realize that was wisdom. It was wisdom for him. It was also wisdom for me. Because I had to figure some things out. And had he taken me on, I would not have known how to turn to God in that situation to hear what my action steps were supposed to be. Now, God did arrange some situations for me to live and things of that nature. However, it wasn't long term, it was short term. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, states of pain and desperation. Let's see what else she says. He heals and fulfills directly and through people. Yes, God heals and fulfills directly himself and through people. Let's talk about the through self one. When you are hungry, angry, lonely, tired, a person, myself included, anybody, sometimes our tendency is we are completely just, whoa, all on. And your emotions can be so wrecked that you can't think straight, right? And so it's trauma and it's drama. And I had someone tell me today, she was giving advice to someone else. And she was telling this person, you need to be still. She was telling this person, you need to listen. She was telling this person that she was being very kind, very compassionate, and very calm. But she was advising this person, listen, if you want things to go well for you, then you're going to have to change the way you're responding and the way you are behaving. And she was very kind, but I was like, wow, you go, girl. It was rock solid counsel to this other person who was hungry, angry, lonely, and tired in more ways than you could think, right? And yes, we reach out and we grab anything or receive whatever is there for us. That's exactly right. And this person was counseling someone who was in great need. And so I just, encourage us all, when we have it all together, it seems like we have our shelter, we have our food, we have our rest, we have our peace. Tomorrow you may not. Life happens. Stuff happens. One is survival mode, one is peace. Yes. Sometimes we can click into survival mode. There are all sorts of things that hit us by surprise and that hit us in a wrong way, and we don't even know what to do. I still remember this person's wisdom and kindness toward this other person. It was quite something. Quite something. The wisdom and kindness that was shown to this person who is hungry, angry, lonely, and tired was great wisdom, great wisdom. We sometimes focus on ourselves feeling hungry and how am I going to act, and angry and lonely and tired. But when you're around someone who exhibits that behavior, you want to pull back and you want to ask God, what am I supposed to do in this situation? How am I supposed to love this person? It does always come down to love. It's love. And just like was told to me 25 plus years ago, when I was in a very odd situation financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, everywhere, when the love came to me through, do you have shelter? Do you have food? Do you have gas? And that was basically the end of that person's compassion. But he was a great father figure for me and very helpful in that situation. I also remember a situation, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. I remember another situation where I was very lonely. I was very tired. I don't know that I was actually physically hungry, but I was definitely very spiritually hungry, and I was very drained emotionally. And I don't think I was angry, but I was dealing with a lot of emotion, a lot of trauma. And I had become, this is a long time ago, but I had taken on this persona of this piety where I was just really trying to be humble. I was really trying to be humble. You know, I was trying to dress a certain way. I was not putting on makeup. I was really trying to be pleasing and modest. I was trying to do the great church thing. Let's make sure, you know, that we look right, we dress right, that we're not a stumbling block, that nobody can see anything on us, and all those things that we do. I'm not saying those aren't good things to do. I'm just saying I was doing them on purpose so that I could be acceptable and so that God would love me. And honestly, one day that same person who challenged me in those financial things, that same person one day said to me, "Donna, you just look unkept." I'm like, what? I mean, I was there seeking counsel. I was there seeking wisdom. I was there seeking some love and some mercy. I was there seeking a hug. I was there seeking some compassion. I probably wanted that pity that she was talking about earlier. But his response to me was, "Donna, you just look unkept." And it really struck me like ice water across my face, telling me I looked unkept. And I was snot ragging everywhere, weeping my guts up. And I remember throwing it at this person and saying, "You better be glad I know you love me, or I'd be really mad right now." I was in my early 30s. And then his wife came around and said, "Honey, he's just saying, you just look a little tired." Well, you know what? I went home and I did look unkept. I looked horrible. I did not represent the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I represented a tired woman who had no idea who she was and had no idea what she wanted to do in her life, and I looked like it. I looked like it. And it caused me, even though I still didn't know who I was and I still didn't know what I was going to do with my life, it caused me to stop, put me on some makeup, put me on some mascara and some lipstick, and it caused me to stand a little taller. I dressed a little nicer. I even got a little bit less modest, meaning I didn't wear things up to here anymore. You know, I thought, gosh, what's wrong with me? I look horrible. I know, you're laughing. That's exactly right. I did. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing, girl? It's like I came out of the world, right? I mean, I came out of the world. And then I came into the church, right? Well, I took on religion. I didn't take on relationship. I was trying to look the part. Well, honey, my part was ugly. Ugly. And so I looked hungry, I looked angry, I looked lonely, and I looked tired. I'm sorry. I will not ever forget that gentleman, that kind man many years ago telling me how unkept I looked. I had really taken on the religious persona so that I looked the part and so that God would love me by looking ugly, basically. Because, you know, if you look ugly, then God's going to love you more, right? Heck no. He's not going to love you more and he's not going to love you less. He just loves, right? But I was trying to earn love. I was really trying to earn love. And it just doesn't work. So when you're around someone who's hungry, maybe they're spiritually hungry, ask God to give you discernment on how to love them. Maybe they're physically hungry and you don't know it. I know someone, they're not from this area, in the Houston area. I know someone who served for many years in some different capacities, in some different places, and nobody knew that he was hungry. Nobody knew that he was living in a place that was unsafe. Nobody discerned. Why? Because he was so busy serving these leaders and serving these corporate people and sometimes these religious people that they were just happy to be served. They didn't know this person. Maybe he sometimes had to sleep in his car or find some place to sleep. They didn't know that he didn't have food. They didn't know because they weren't discerning who was laboring with them. This person was hungry. This person was lonely. And this person was very tired. They didn't discern those things. This person wasn't angry at all, right? But they faced some things in that situation. So I encourage you to look at the people around you. Are they hungry? Are they angry? If they're angry, ask God why. Everybody has a reason why they're angry. And it may not be a simple thing. It might go way back. There's a place of unforgiveness. There's a place where they were mistreated. Maybe somebody was unkind. Maybe they feel like God is against them or God just doesn't love them. It could be that simple. And maybe they're lonely, right? You can be a married person for many years and still be lonely. And you can be a single person and not be lonely. So it's not a state of your marriage. It is really a state of your marriage. It's here. It's here. And it's also here. We are supposed to provide family for one another, relationship for one another, right? And in that place, maybe we won't be so tired. Maybe we won't get so tired because we have a community we can walk out life with. And here. There's another comment. These are areas we can be blinded in. We might not realize we are irrational, etc. Yes. So you can be around someone who has all these emotions in operation, but because they are so traumatized or have so much happening within them that nobody knows about, they have these emotions happening. They may not even be aware of them. And listen, there's also the truth that some people hide their emotions. Some people hide their anger, their sadness. They hide their fatigue. They hide their hunger because they don't want anybody to know. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they feel humiliated. Maybe they just feel unsupported, but they don't want anybody to know because it's a private thing. Because, listen, when you don't have an answer to help someone, the person who feels like they can't help somebody can feel very frustrated and very out of control because they want to help, because they have compassion to help. But look at also the person who needs to be helped. That person can feel very irrational. That person can feel very out of control. But if you will love them and get still and ask God, who am I in this person's situation? God, what are you in this person's situation? And what am I supposed to be doing in this person's situation? Running, hiding, shutting down, unhealthy coping. Boy, this girl's bringing it. She's got some good info here. Running, hiding, shutting down, and unhealthy coping. Absolutely. And you know what? There are many corporate leaders, there are many religious leaders all across the world that run, hide, shut down, and are unhealthy and coping. And nobody knows because there's no discernment. And there's no community in those places. There's no community for them, anybody to even know about it. So anyway, I just want to encourage you today, if you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, take note of it. Take a deep breath. Ask God what to do in that situation. If you need a temporary fix, get your temporary fix. If you're in a place where you can fix it, where you can feed yourself, where you can calm down, where you can be in some community, or you can get a good night's sleep, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. If you're around someone who can't do those things, just love and have mercy and be kind. And you may not be able to rescue them. That can be some of the most frustrating things that can happen. when you can't help somebody, but you have the compassion to help them, and you want to help them so bad, you would almost like give them everything. I know someone that would just give everything to someone, give everyone to someone, because their compassion runs so deep, and that compassion is from the Lord. But having the wisdom to know what to do in that situation. You can't always live that person's life. And sometimes you just have to love them. Sometimes you can love them up close, and sometimes you only get to love them from afar because of the assignment God has given you, or the crises you're dealing with in your life, or the life of those that are close to you. You can only do and be the best that you can do and be at any given moment. At any given moment. So I encourage you today to halt. Halt when you're filled with HALT. And let God give you solution. I bless you today. This is Donna. New Day with Donna Mae. Until soon. Bye.